Alright guys, and now we are back with a showdown between the Vampire Coast, who shall be led by Celestra, and the Bretonnians, who are going to be helmed by the Fey Enchantress. And it looks like she's also going to be joined by the dreaded one himself, the Green Knight. So as far as the build goes in the front line, it's going to be pretty standard stuff. We have 4 groups of these zombie pirate deckhand mobs. These guys do pretty good against Bretonnian infantry. Obviously men-at-arms and foot squires and things like that aren't super elite, so for the most part, these guys are going to do the trick. They might not win, but they're going to tar pit and let your other resources do the heavy lifting. And as far as their stats go, I mean, it's not that different. 18, 17, and 29. And if you look at some of these men-at-arms, for example, I think he has some in the front, it's going to be 27, 34, and 26. So they actually have less weapon strength, better combat stats, but the big difference being is that zombie pirate deckhand mobs have huge HP, 8,640 compared to the 5,850 of the men-at-arms. So 4 of those bad boys in the front line, but that's pretty much going to be the only thing that is really standard against Bretonnia. Aside from that, I get really bored of just playing Noctilus and using these very kind of cookie cutter builds that, are proven to be efficient against these different factions, but I want to try something a little bit different. So we're going to be going hog wild as far as the build goes. In the back line, we have Queen Bess, and Queen Bess certainly isn't a competitive pick against Bretonnia, but it's also not bad either. So Queen Bess is going to be very efficient at taking out archers, so if they have peasant bowmen or other troops like that, which peasant bowmen are pretty much an auto pick in this matchup. Queen Bess is going to be relatively efficient at taking those guys apart because one Queen Bess, bombardment here is probably going to, take these peasant bowmen down to maybe half health, give or take. So should be okay if I can protect it. Got some halberds in the back line and then a bunch of just random monsters. So we do have the Necrofex Colossus here, which I think is a proven tool against Bretonnia. It's very good against their knights and their cav. Peasant archers are somewhat efficient at taking it down because it only has 75 armor and, the Green Knight and some cav units obviously can, but he's very good against Bretonnian cav. He's relatively mobile. You can hide him amongst your halberds and he's definitely a terror in the night. So we have a Vampire Caster with Celestra. Celestra is a bit of a wild pick as well. I think that Noctilus is by far the most competitive in every single matchup. And I would say Luther Harkin is probably going to be the second best in this matchup. Celestra is probably somewhere in the 3rd place. And I don't know. I think Araneth's Assault Spite is decent against Bretonnia. Anti-large, she has nets. But the problem being with hers, she can't be healed with Invocation of the Heck. So a lot of good players are going to be able to sniper out with fireballs and other things like that. So Celestra here is going to be summoning crabs and those damn Knight Errants to kind of harass the back line. And she does also have an AoE slow. But the Fey Enchantress plus the Green Knight both do magic damage. So they're going to be able to kill her real quick if I'm not careful. We got the Vampire Caster. We also have a Gunnery Wight, which is going to be giving more powder to Queen Bess as well as this Colossus. And a giant enemy crab. So the Rotting Leviathan's pretty good. Bretonnia does struggle against heavy armor. So I'm just going to be trying a little bit of everything. Just, putting my coins in the Rotting Leviathan, the Colossus, and Queen Bess. And we'll see who pays our dues. We got 2 hounds over here, one in the forest, and one on the far side over here. Going to be trying to get into the peasant archers. And that's pretty much it. So for the army of King of the Dead, it looks like he does have 2 groups of the Mounted Yeomen. Now I didn't see the Wardens of Montfort here. Now normally these Mounted Yeomen archers have pitiful combat stats. They have 16 melee defense, so I was like, okay, I'm going to get a jump on them, but the Wardens are actually not bad in melee, so I might not be able to take them 2v1. Over here, he does also have a couple sneaky Mounted Yeomen, so a lot of backline pressure, which is going to be very strong. Over here, he does have a whole backline of Peasant Archers, front line of Men-at-Arms with a couple Battle Pilgrims mixed in, and in the back, 2 Battle Pilgrims and the Holy Warden. So the Holy Wardens are going to be able to just mulch through zombies. These guys are just going to straight up rob zombie. They're going to burn through the witches and slam through the, I don't really remember how the rest of the words go, but it's going to be pretty cool. Now the real wild card pick here is going to be the Green Knight. Green Knight's going to be relatively tough to deal with Celestra and the force I have, but let's see if we can do it. So on that note, guys, let's get this show on the road. So the first blast from Queen Bess coming in here doing huge damage against a peasant bowman. So far it's paying its dues. I mean, that's about 200 gold worth of damage right there. And of course, Queen Bess does cause, I think, like 1,600 give or take. So we're going to see if she pays for herself over the course of this battle. Frontline engagement's about to be underway, and you can see some of the dogs are going to be chasing down the Wardens, but it looks like they're going to be taking some crossfire. And honestly, the Wardens, like I said, are pretty decent melee, so they should be able to beat the dogs, especially if this other group of Mounted Yeomen helps out. In the back line, these Mounted Yeomen are going to be pressuring in, but I do adjust my halberds here in just a moment, and I'm going to be using the Colossus to kind of shoot them, which is a pretty good, I like this tactic from King because it's forcing me to use this like big heavy hitting unit to like shoot at these like cheap, crappy cav units that cost like 450. The Gunnery Wight's also going to be getting his pistol out and taking some pot shots. And in the meantime, I think there was some other sneaky knight somewhere, but I can't quite remember. But anyways, the giant enemy crab is in the front line. He's going to be just pounding some of these infantry, doing some work. But the Green Knight, also a very niche pick against heavy armor, right? He has good AP, really good combat stats. He's going to, at the very least, be able to chip down the Rotting Leviathan over a long engagement. So just trying to kind of cause some distractions, marching across the front line, holding these guys in place while some of the dogs do get into the back line. So I get on the peasant archers, but he does have these battle pilgrims protecting them. So I'm not able to get into the cookie jar. And I do lose my other hounds over here. They are able to nibble on the heels of the Wardens, but the Wardens, with the support of these other Mounted Yeomen archers, are able to win that fight. Now in the back, he's trying to shut down Queen Bess with some of these Mounted Yeomen. My halberds are able to kind of fend those guys off, which is good, and the other ones are just kind of waiting and hoping that I'll overextend and pull away from Queen Bess, which I might end up doing. I do it all the time. It's a pretty easy mistake to make. But in the front line, the deckhand mobs are fighting the Men-at-Arms, and the Men-at-Arms are definitely having a pretty good field day of it. They're beating them down, and of course they have a lot of support from the peasant archers. And at this point, I'm realizing the front line is starting to falter, but I do have kind of a layered position. So I'm going to be attacking with the crab, summoning some guns to kind of help out here, and just hoping that Queen Bess can continue to generate that fat value. So Queen Bess shooting downtown again, and let's see if she gets a shot. I believe I switched onto the Wardens here, and oh man, the Holy Wardens just getting smoked right there, taking a ton of damage, and you can see some of the Bretonnia Knights are actually coming in. So Knights of the Realm were kept in reserve. Of course, the Necrofex Colossus would be very good against them, but at this point, I'm going to be summoning the Damn Knights Errant because I see a backline opportunity. So there's a huge pocket right here. I'm going to be trying to slip up and through and get onto these Peasant Bowman Archers, and then from there maybe cascade down and get the other ones, because a lot of his mobile resources are tied up back here, and he doesn't have too much backline protection. So hopefully it'll work out. But the giant enemy crab is taking a huge beating from the Green Knight. So the Green Knight and the Knights of the Realm and all these other troops are doing pretty damn good. So I rush up Solastra, I summon some Rotting Prometheans to kind of get in there with Lord of the Deep, and hopefully we'll be able to hold those guys back. We'll find out in just a second. So Invocation of the Heck has gone off, healing the crab up pretty efficiently. He's got about 4,000 HP left, so I think he starts with about 8,500, give or take. And the Rotting Leviathans are able to kind of halt the Bretonnian onslaught. So they were really doing a ton of damage to my poor crab, and he was really not having a great time. In the back line, I do slip up just a little bit. Some of the halberds did get a little bit out of positioning, but I have the I was about to say Necrofex Leviathan, the newest unit. But he's able to jump over here and just crush these mounted yeomen and tear out them. So Queen Bessie did take some damage, but for the most part, she has enough crew to keep operating, and it shouldn't be too big of a deal. So the Bretonnian harass in the back line has been pretty good, but Bess has been at pretty much full firing capacity, and the balance of power with that does go into my favor. You can see the mounted or the Damn Knight Errants in the back are able to chase off the Peasant Bowmen, getting a huge sweep. So I got these ones, I sweep onto these ones, and then from there, I might even be able to do some damage to this last group of Peasant Bowmen. So a pretty good little catch, but the biggest issue being is the Green Knight's still healthy, and the Bretonnians have a ton of infantry, so it's going to be relatively tough to deal with those guys. And right here, you can see Solastra is going to be getting beaten down. The Green Knight and the Fey Enchantress using their magic, so I use a Song of Enthrallment to slow them, and I use the Giant Enemy Crab, as well as the Leviathan Summoner, not the Leviathan, the Crab Summon, the goddamn Rotting Prometheans. I'm going to be summoning those guys to kind of target them and keep them off Solastra. Very, very scary situation right there. In the meantime, the halberds are pretty much able to clean up the mounted yeomen, so these guys aren't going to be too much of a threat. There are a couple over here just kind of waiting in the wings, but I felt relatively safe at this point. The biggest thing is he's obviously trying to snipe Solastra. That's his best way back into the game, and if he can get Solastra, he's probably going to be able to methodically work through my other characters, right? Because I have a Vampire Fleet Captain, I have a Gunnery White, all of which the Green Knight can just annihilate. I mean, he could just straight up flip them upside down, put them in a trash can, high school bully them. It is not going to be fun. So in the distance, the Damn Knight Errant were able to do pretty good. They got off these Peasant Bowmen Archers. The other ones are very, very beat up. They're going to be coming back, though. So the resilience of the Bretonnian Peasant Hordes is really showing here. So the Crabs, I'm just using them to screen, trying my best to keep these guys alive, and at the same time going after the Fey Enchantress. But she is quite slippery. She's also nowhere near her healing cap. So she's probably waiting for the Green Knight to take a little bit of damage before she commits. And Solastra is just going to be hiding in the back and protecting Queen Bess. Now, Queen Bess has a fair amount of ammunition. We're going to be shooting downtown, I believe, at the Peasant Bowman Archers or some of these infantry blobs. But the Leviathan and the Crab are going to be fighting just tooth and nail for their lives right here. The bounce power is even, but it is certainly, I don't think that's indicative. I think the Green Knight is going to be a huge issue here because I don't really have any magic damage, right? And even with Noctilus, you do have the Wraith Storm, which is very good against Green Knight. It does quite a bit of damage, and that's why he's probably so efficient. Plus, he's not going to get killed by the Green Knight quickly. He has anti-large, he's tanky, but it's just no fun playing with Noctilus. So anyways, Zombie Power Jack End mobs are going to be kind of forming a bit of a Helm's Deeper on Queen Bess, but Queen Bessie's in a little bit of trouble. You can see some of these Battle Pilgrims have gotten back here, but what's very cool about Solastra is she also causes terror. So she is going to be able to potentially terror out some of these guys, and you can see she's doing some evil witchcraft here and singing and with her shrill, annoying voice. And you can also see that the Queen Bessie is still online. So shooting at some of the Battle Pilgrims, 66 models down to 44. That is pure brutality. And some of the Noble Knights of Bretonnia coming in with a fat charge right here on the Necrofex Colossus. And they're going to do some pretty good damage. He has 75 armor. They have low AP, but it's not like heavy armor, right? Like 100, so they should be able to kind of chip them down a little bit. But they do get caught with the taunt. So trying to kind of lower their stats and make the Necrofex Colossus kill them that much quicker. But here comes the Alpha Strike again. So you can see that the Fey Enchantress plus the Green Knight are going to be charging in here and doing some heavy, heavy damage to Solastra. So she's going to be waddling back, trying to get to safety. But my formation here is kind of collapsing. Mounted Yeomen are coming back in. The halberds aren't really able to hold, and Solastra is in a bad, bad way. I do get an overcasted Invocation of the Heck, which is going to be healing up the crab, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Now, in the distance, Queen Bess is continuing to bombard to the bitter end. Let's go ahead and check her kills before she gets killed here. She's still online. Come on, Queen Bess. Queen Bess, 237. So Queen Bessie definitely did good. I think that she was certainly worth the investment. So, got to give her props where props are due. So Queen Bess is going to be falling right here. A little bit of a Mortis Engine action coming in from the Fey Enchantress. Very effective against my hordes of leftover zombies. My crab's in a little bit of trouble as well. So Solastra was able to heal up to 811, but the Green Knight with 1 or 2 shots should be able to kill her. And he still has so many troops here. The Holy Wardens, very, very elite. They do fire damage, which is going to be pertinent against a couple of my units. And yeah, they're just going to be charging in here and cleaning up my chaff. So a lot of trouble going on, guys. The balance of power is even. It's a very, very close game here. The Colossus is going to be running in. I have the Gunnery Wight, I have the Crab, and I also do have the Vampire Fleet Captain. But aside from that, I have some Halberds in the distance who are going to be fighting. You can see they're over here just chasing down Peasant Archers. Well, they don't really chase effectively. They got 23 speed, but they are able to kind of keep those guys broken off. And some of these men-at-arms with shields are going to be rushing over to intercept. But I feel like with a little bit of terror, we might be able to kind of rout off the remnants of this formation. And the Gunnery Wight does overextend a little bit. So I meant to keep him closer, but I think I had him on melee mode because he was fighting something and I forgot to switch it back. And then he charged back out here in open field. So very, very bad stuff. The Green Knight and company are just having a field day with him. So I send out the Crab to try and get some burst damage on the Fey Enchantress, but I do miss, unfortunately. And the Colossus is going to be coming out as well, but I don't really have enough Winds of Magic for anything else. I've been using Winds of Magic pretty aggressively this entire game with the Crab summons. Now, if you just play with like Lore of Vampires, for example, you can really abuse the summons quite a bit. But if you are going to be using Lore of Deeps and Lore of Vampires, you're not going to be able to get all of your summons most of the time if you get both your Crab summons. But the Crab summons were super big lifesavers. They're able to really provide a lot of help and keep Slosser from dying. So the Colossus here is going to be fighting. Balance of Powers even a little bit, but it's actually going in the favor of Bretonnia as the Green Knight, the hero of old, getting in here and just doing a ton of work against the Rotting Leviathans. This bad boy is crumbling. I'm in some serious trouble, but Peasant Archers in the back doing their thing, and it gets a little bit grindy here, so I will do some fast forwarding. But the Crab taking a beating from the Green Knight. Green Knight getting in there, and the Crab is probably going to be falling here, and down goes the Crab to the Green Knight. So the Green Knight's going to be charging over here and probably going after my other character, just methodically kind of picking apart my forces. And you can see the Gunnery Wight coming in as well with his big old club right there, or the Vampire Fleet Captain, which is pretty awesome. But the Green Knight is going to be so tanky. The one thing I do have going for me is the Colossus is very, very healthy, and the Fey Enchantress has been taking a lot of damage. I've been using the Gunnery Wight and the Colossus in guard mode, trying to shoot her and get her off the battlefield, hoping then I could just kind of 3v1 the Green Knight, but the Bretonians still have a lot of chaff units, which is causing problems. And the Colossus also hasn't dropped its load yet, so when they get below a certain HP, they do drop out the summon mobs. So the mobs kind of go, it's like called Abandoned Ship, it's in their toolbar right there, but he's going to be abandoning ship here pretty soon, which is going to be helpful. So trying to get a little bit of damage on the Green Knight, but it doesn't feel cost effective, because I'm pretty sure the Fey Enchantress probably still has some Winds of Magic, so the Fey Enchantress coming in here, getting a little bit greedy, and every time she comes in, she takes some damage, but it's also distracting me from fighting the Green Knight, so it's working out pretty well for King of the Dead. Invocation from Nehek is going to be going down, and I believe it was a single target cast. I only had enough Winds of Magic to do a single target. Now the Green Knight is taunted as well, so trying to get him a little bit lower. He's got 23 melee defense, but this guy's, I mean, yeah, you can see that Colossus only did 100 damage because of his physical resist. This guy's a straight up beefcake. So the Gunnery Wight and company are going to be holding. Fey Enchantress is going to be charging in here, but it's going to be a tough fight. Fey Enchantress coming in, getting a nice little Mortis Engine effect, but I do get my Zombie Pirate deckhand mobs who drop out of the Colossus, and from here I'm going to be trying to kill the Fey Enchantress. Peasant Archers in the back doing a great job, but they're about to run out of ammunition, so that little kind of poking, withering damage is going to be running out here. So the Gunnery Wight in the meantime is going to be falling back, trying to get up and round, just trapping in the Green Knight, hoping that these, prison shanks and just steady damage are going to be doing the trick. And the Colossus will be jumping back as well, because Fey Enchantress isn't nearby. I'm like, okay, let's isolate, let's do some damage, we'll see if we can really take this out. So yeah, it's a close fight, guys. This one is just straight up down to the wire. The Green Knight, the hero of Bretonnia, taking quite a bit of damage, but also giving it back. So he's down to 2100. He's taken about 500 damage since last we looked. And I have the Gunnery Wight with his sharpshooter pistol, although it looks like he's obstructed by the corpse of the Crab or something else. He's having a little bit. Oh, and he gets knocked over by the Wardens. The Wardens come in and knock him over right before he's able to snipe the Fey Enchantress. Just absolute insanity. And yeah, it looks like he's going to be crumbling, but I do put the Necrofex Colossus in guard mode again, and I shoot at the Fey Enchantress, trying to pick her off, hoping that, I would be able to claw out a victory after that. But the Fey Enchantress coming in with her unicorn, and unicorns, according to the Lore Master of Sotek, are ferocious beasts in the old world. So you can see right here that the Fey Enchantress is going to be running, the Colossus is going to be chasing, and I don't know if we're going to be able to get it. 500 HP here, the Colossus is going in, and is he going to get it? Is he going to blast the Fey Enchantress? Here it comes, 565 HP. Come on, get her, Colossus, get her, get her! Oh man, she's slipping, she's juking, he's having trouble aiming, and there he goes. Down goes the Fey Enchantress. And with that, the bounce power actually stays the same, give or take, because the Green Knight has been responding in kind. He's been able to kill the casters, he killed the Gunnery Wight, he killed pretty much everything else. And now it's just, pretty much the Green Knight versus Colossus. Everything else is just kind of watching, and the Green Knight is going to win. The Colossus is going to fall. Insane game. Very well played to King of the Dead. That was a really fun one. Yeah, not much to say. It was crazy. Queen Bessie did good. But yeah, I mean, it's a little bit tricky. The Hound play was okay. I think getting a couple more Hounds could have been helpful. But even still, I think we got some good catches. And one group of Hounds was able to do some work against the Peasant Archers, but maybe being a little bit more patient with the Hounds and just letting Queen Bess kind of feast, because in the late game when those Archers did come back, they made a pretty big deal. So I think if I had used the Hounds a little bit more conservatively, that could have helped. Not win me the game, but helped. The rest of the build was okay. I mean, it was very experimental. I certainly don't think this is a competitive build by any stretch of the imagination. But, the Colossus did okay. The Crab did okay. I would probably cut the Crab. I'm not a huge fan of playing with the Rotting Leviathan. It just doesn't suit my playstyle. But But yeah, I thought it was fun. The Gunnery White was able to really kind of make Queen Bess work, but was it worth the investment? Yeah, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But yeah, I really like King's build. Aside from this, like I'm pretty used to seeing builds like this, but the one thing that you don't see terribly often is the Green Knight. This guy was like the X Factor. He came in and pretty much like soloed like most of my elites and most of my characters, and also gave him a really hard counter against Celestra, which I thought was beautiful. So very well played to King of the Dead, who does also stream on the Twitch. So if you guys are interested, there will be a link in the comment section below. And on that note, now that we've had a little bit of fun with a bit of a meme build, I'm going to show you guys an actual Vampire Coast build against the Bretonnians. So let's go ahead and go into some of my preloaded builds. They have changed a little bit since since the game has came out here, but we're going to go with Bretonnia. So this is a pretty good one for sure. So what you do is you get Noctilus on his steed, a second Colossus, you get some Rotting Leviathans to stop crabs, the Black Spot with their guns, and it's pretty damn efficient. This build is tough to deal with. You have a Morngul Haunter as well, but the Green Knight would be a bit of a roadblock and tough, but I think Colossus plus a Morngul Haunter and some of the crabs and Wraith Storm and some of their abilities like that could be quite good, but maybe not. Maybe you would have trouble. Who knows? That's going to be the one build, and I think we have a second one as well that we kind of experiment with. This is more of a fun one to use Aranessa Assault Spy, but let's actually come up with a more kind of contemporary build. So those ones are a little bit dated. The Aranessa one is a bit more of a goof and a gaff. So you want to get Noctilus on foot if you really are just, I kind of have a feeling he's going to get nerfed, which I think would be fair. But even still, if they took armor and HP and nerfed a lot of his characteristics, I still think Noctilus with his summons and his anti-large and AP would be the best pick against Bretonnia. From there, you probably just get a front line of the zombie part Jetcan mobs. You just get these guys mixed in there. They're going to do the trick. You could get Queen Bessie. A couple mortars might not be bad either, but the cannons are also quite good against Bretonnian elite cav. But from here, we are going to get one Colossus, just in case I go with like heavy knight play. The Colossus is a relatively safe pick, and he's very, very tough to deal with for sure. So that kind of gives you a cannon against cav units, right? And then from there, you can mix in a couple guns, getting the Black Spot, and these guys are going to be very, very good against like those mounted yeomen and other troops trying to cause problems for you. I don't know if any of the other troops like bombers and pistoliers are worth it in this matchup. So you definitely need some backline harass. So you're going to get some dogs like this. 3 dogs are really going to cause a lot of trouble, especially if you're on top of your micro and you're having a good old day like that. And Queen Bessie isn't a bad pick, but if you don't have the Gunnery White, it's not going to be as effective. I'd use a lot of extra powder, so we're going to get a couple mortars, and then from there we're going to get a ton of halberds in the back just to kind of defend the guns. We can even go with 4, and something like this would probably be pretty tough for the Bretonnians to beat. You have the front line, and Noctilus is going to be there spamming summons to help you win that. You have 3 guns as well to deal with cav and any sort of other harassment play. And even like that focus fire could probably work down the Green Knight over a course of a long grindy battle. You have 2 mortars for the archers and the scurvy dogs, and I think the halberds and everyone. Why do we have the type of skull? That was an accident. That was a misclick. And I mean, yeah, you could throw in a wild bloated corpse for sure. I don't know if it's worth it. You could even mix in like one group of sirens or something. That's actually not a bad idea. So let's do this and mix in one group of sirens just to give you some magic damage against Green Knight. And I think that would be really, really strong. So anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this game. It's always a pleasure, even when I'm playing Vampire Coast, to see them just get smashed by something. It's super fun. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. And we'll see you guys next time. Take care.